I'm Roger Young, a senior financial planner with Rowe Price. I'm still working from home, as you can probably tell, and like I suspect a lot of you are. During this crisis, we're getting a lot of questions from our clients, and we want to make sure that we're giving you the answers you need to try and stay on track financially. Our topic today is helping people who are planning and saving for a college education with a 529 account and trying to balance that with their other priorities. I hope this information is relevant to you, and we encourage you to pass it along to other people who might benefit from the information. A question we've gotten from a lot of clients is, I've been saving for my kids' education, and I'm wondering if I should be changing my strategy in my 529 college savings accounts. How should I be thinking about this drop in the balance in my 529 account? I'd like to offer a little bit of reassurance, though. If you're in an enrollment-based portfolio in your 529 account, remember that your portfolio is intended to balance the risks against potential returns in a way that's appropriate for your time horizon. So that doesn't mean it can't go down in value, but it does mean that if you're close to your college years for your kids, that a fairly small portion of that is actually invested in stocks at this stage. So when you hear about results and declines in a big stock index like the Dow Jones Industrial Market or the S&P 500, keep in mind that those results are not indicative of what's happening in your portfolio that has a mix of stocks and bonds. And remember, if you're using one of the plans managed by Rowe Price, our firm has a long history of weathering volatile markets. And our team is actively managing those portfolios. That includes the glide paths that decline from a more growth-oriented portfolio when the kids are young towards a more conservative portfolio closer to college. So that team has been doing it since 2001, and they've lived through and adjusted to downturns like the 2008-2009 downturn. So as with retirement savings, we would say it's still best to follow a long-term strategy, to stay the course with your strategy. As an example, if you're a little farther from college, say you have an 8-year-old who's probably, say, 10 years or so away from going to college, remember that that's actually a reasonably long time frame when you're thinking about stocks. So over historical data, very few times has a broad stock index declined in value over a 10-year period. So the fact that you have a mix of stocks and bonds gives you even hopefully a little more comfort in staying the course. If you're facing tuition payments and other educational expenses this year, that could potentially present more of a challenge for you, especially if you've been a little on the aggressive side with your investments. So in that situation, you could consider putting money that will be needed for expenses in the short term, say in the next year, into an investment option that is intended to preserve your principal. Now, keep in mind, you only get to make 2 investment strategy changes in a 529 account each year. So you want to use those opportunities wisely. This highlights another benefit of the enrollment-based portfolios. So in those cases, we're making the adjustments to the portfolios, and those don't count toward your limit of 2 investment strategy changes per year. Now, another way you could make changes to your allocation without using one of those 2 allowed changes is by adjusting how you're putting new money into a 529 account. So you might put that into a different portfolio than the one you have been using. For example, in preparation for expenses that are coming up soon, you could direct new contributions to an investment option that's intended to preserve your principal, like I mentioned a moment ago. We're also getting questions from clients about refunds that they're getting from colleges. So again, this is a subject of interest to me personally. I have a student who's now home from college unexpectedly. If you paid for college expenses with a 529 and now you've gotten a refund on that, you want to be careful that that money you took out of the 529 account isn't taxed or penalized. So it's not hard to do, but you do need to pay attention to the details. The way to avoid the unfortunate consequences is to recontribute that refund into your 529 account. So in the past, you would have had 60 days from the day that you get a refund to put that money back into your 529 account to avoid taxes and penalties. Now, in this situation, because of the crisis, Congress and the IRS have given you an extension on that. So if that 60 days would have expired sometime in the time frame of April 1st to July 15th, you basically get until the end of that period. You get until July 15th to make that recontribution. So as an example, if you get a refund from a college for room and board in April or in May or early May, 60 days would have been before July 15th, but you'll get until July 15th. So you get a little bit more leeway on that. Finally, for parents, I want to address the concerns of people who are facing financial challenges, financial stress as related to the coronavirus crisis. Ordinarily, we encourage people to continue investing in their college savings plans. We recognize that may not be feasible right now. So our attitude, honestly, is do what you can. If you're able to make contributions, that's great. If not, we certainly understand. Now, in terms of taking money out of a 529 plan for non-education expenses, remember that there are potentially taxes and penalties with that. So we would encourage you to look for other ways that wouldn't encounter penalties. So you want to look for sources like government assistance, unemployment benefits if you're unemployed, family and friends potentially, possibly taking money out of a home equity line of credit if you have one. If you've been directly affected by the coronavirus itself, you could even consider what's called a coronavirus-related distribution out of a retirement account. Those would be ways to avoid penalties. So overall, though, we do want to stress that whatever you need, we're here to support you and we'll help you get through this crisis as best we can. We know that supporting needs of both your kids and your parents can be a big issue for a lot of people. And we've published some articles on how to best juggle those priorities. In addition to those articles, we have some steps that you might consider right now in light of this particular crisis. So thinking about your parents, it's always important to understand their plans for healthcare decisions and their estate plans, know where their documents are. It can be difficult to start those conversations at any time, but this crisis could potentially act as a catalyst to start having those discussions and learn what your parents' situation is and be in a good position to support them. As for having young children at home, I definitely feel for you right now. I'm thankful my kids are a little bit older. I don't have to add the job of homeschooler to my responsibilities right now, like a lot of you do. So while it's not our place to give you, parental advice necessarily, we do have a lot of experience in helping families to educate their kids, to teach lessons about money. For over 10 years, we've been doing a survey called Parents, Kids, and Money. One thing we've consistently learned doing that survey is that kids who have regular money conversation with their parents tend to have better financial habits. And that can last a long time in terms of setting them up for success. So in this crisis, your kids are probably hearing a lot of things out there. They're hearing about the economy. They're hearing about people losing jobs. They're hearing about financial stress. They might be hearing you talk about financial stress. So we'd encourage you, don't shy away from those topics. Take advantage of this situation and have those conversations with your kids. Be upfront if you have challenges to the extent your kids are ready for those conversations. I think in the long term, they'll appreciate that you've been honest with them and that you cared enough to have those conversations and tell them the truth. In terms of tips that you can use to help you with these conversations, we have a website called Money Confident Kids. It has a lot of resources. It has activities and lessons and even games that parents and educators can use, or possibly in your case, a parent who's suddenly become more of an educator. There are also other resources out there in addition to our own. Nonprofits like Junior Achievement has materials. You can look for news sources. You can go to your library and hopefully they have online resources. So a lot of ways that you can have these conversations and try and make the best of the situation. So finally, we'd like to give you a general reminder that you want to also make sure you're taking care of your own financial needs first. That puts you in a good position to be able to help your kids and be able to help your parents if necessary. So you might think about steps like getting a little organized in terms of your papers and your plans, possibly revisiting your budget. You might find that you don't miss some things that you've had to cut during this time as much as you thought you would. So take care of yourself, take care of the people that you love, and hopefully, it would be great if you can make some positives out of a difficult situation that we find ourselves in this crisis. We hope that you found this video helpful. Please feel free to give us feedback using the survey on the right-hand side of the video console. We're here for you, and we'd love to hear from you. Please share your ideas for topics for future videos. Rowe Price is committed to helping you through this crisis. So please contact us if you have any questions. Stay healthy during this crisis. Thanks for watching, and thank you for your confidence in Rowe Price.